up to the plate. Hear that crowd roar, the Angels minor league reports keeping score. 66ers swinging down an inland empire. Dust Devils heating up, they're reaching higher. Rocket City Trash Pandas, they're coming through. Salt Lake Bees buzzing, making their move. Dominick Lorenz breaking down the play. Halos in the infield each and every day. Prospects climbing, chasing that dream. From the minors to the majors, part of the team. Fastballs flying, big hits we seek. Catch it all on the Angels minor league report each week. Oh, each week.
Yes, indeed. It is time for another episode of the Angels Minor League Report here on the Halos in the Infield Network with yours truly, Dominick Lorenz of Catella Chronicles. So glad to have you along with us this week. Last week, our good buddy and nicknamed El Presidente, Todd Fox, was here with us to kind of recap the first month of the Angels Minor League farm system, gave out some Players of the Month awards, and now we have officially entered a new month. Well, we kind of been in it for about a week and a half, but still, it's a new month, the month of May. See what's going down on the farm for the Halos. And we got a lot to cover here this week between AAA, AA, High A, and Single A. So much great baseball to cover, even though some teams won a lot of games, some teams maybe didn't so. But we break it down and look at the individual performances that really had a positive impact throughout the Angels farm system, even though we ranked 30th in Major League Baseball. But of course, glad to have you along with us. Thank you to our sponsors, 714 Tickets, Bruheim, Underdog Sportsbook, and the OC Dugout. Thank you for all your partnership work here for the past couple of months since Angels baseball has come back into our lives, even though it has been a lot of pleasure and more so pain, not just this year, but in the last decade plus of baseball. But since baseball has been officially back, since spring training back in February, we're now in May, and the minor league season is upon us. So thanks again to our sponsors. We'll check in on our sponsors, 714 Tickets, Bruheim, Underdog Sportsbook, and the OC Dugout a little bit later here in the show. But let's do what we always do. Let's jump right in and let's get to the AAA level. The Salt Lake Bees is where we're going to start today. We're going to go top to bottom in the Angels farm system this week. And last week for the Bees, it was a rough one. They got stung, swelled up like a balloon, and did not look very pretty as they lost 5 of 6 to the Houston Astros affiliate, the Sugarland Space Cowboys, after taking game 1 of the series by the final of 10-8. Losses the rest of the week, 7-6, 5-1, 7-2, 14-7, and then 10-4. So not a good week. You can tell right there with a lot of losses, pitching was not up to the mark like we saw in a couple of starts throughout the month of April for the Bees. So let's kind of flip the script a little bit and look at the offense. I really like what I saw from outfielder Tucker Flint. 5 games, batted .353 with a home run, 5 RBIs, 2 doubles, a triple. He got on base with 6 hits and 2 walks. So got on base, was a lot of traffic for the Salt Lake Bees. So I really like what he had, and especially coming up through the system over the last couple of years. I saw him a lot with the Inland Empire 66ers a couple of seasons ago, and he has worked his way up, especially after playing last year with the Rocket City Trash Pandas. Tucker Flint has been a positive impact in this Angels farm system. Again, yes, are they rated 23rd in 30th in baseball? Man, it would be really nice if the Angels were ranked 23rd in baseball in minor league systems, but whatever. That'll happen one day, maybe not. But the 24-year-old Tucker Flint only batting 160 so far in 70 plate appearances this year, so has gotten off to a strugglesome start to the season. So it was really nice against the Sugarland Space Cowboys to get that 353 average in 5 games and incorporating some power numbers and RBI numbers into the mix as well. You can also look at Carter Keyboom, the third baseman for the Bees, in 6 games, batted .458 with a home run, 5 RBIs, 2 doubles. He had 11 hits and 24 at-bats, scored 4 runs, and also walked a couple of times as well. So good numbers right there to kind of lead off that offensive streak for the Bees, even though they lose 5 of 6. On the pitching side of things, Caden Dana just got a little bit of a top 2 prospect check-in. He had 1 start in that series, gave up 4 runs in 7 innings, got the win in game 1 of that series. But as a total kind of complete performance, looking for low earned runs and high number of innings, Victor Medeiros suffered the loss, but only gave up 1 run in 6 innings. And then out of the bullpen, they had some nice little helpers kind of throughout the week, but the one I want to spotlight the most was Luke Murphy. 2 appearances, 4 total innings on the bump, allowed 5 hits, no runs, and 1 walk and 4 strikeouts. A very good afternoon and evening, however you want to look at it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Get on back to the dugout. But Luke Murphy, great work out of the bullpen for the Bees. And after pitching in Rocket City last year as a 25-year-old, again, one of these players, just like the offense, like Tucker Flynn, who had a strugglesome start to the season. Same thing for Murphy. 9 appearances, an 0-1 record, and a 6 ERA. So to be able to lower that with 2 appearances over the past week, I really like those numbers for the young 25-year-old here in the Angels farm system. So when you kind of look at it, I would love to be able to dive into some of the better games in that weeks against the Sugarland Space Cowboys, but there really wasn't much to tote around in that game as they lose 5 of 6 in the series against the Sugarland Space Cowboys. What I will do, I will turn the clock back a little bit and we'll look and see how did Salt Lake do so well last Tuesday, because we want to try to give a little positivity. They scored 1 in the first, 2 in the second, 3 in the fourth, and 4 in the fifth. 10 runs on 8 hits. Again, Caden Dana picked up the win in that ballgame, going 7 innings of work. Tucker Flint, we mentioned already, 2 for 2 with a home run, a double, 2 walks, and 3 RBIs in the contest. Very good numbers right there. And then if you look on down the order, now outfielder for the Angels in Lugo. Lugo had 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs in that game. Carter Kieboom went 2 for 3 with an RBI. Ryan Noda went 1 for 1 with 3 walks and 3 runs scored. And then Tucker Flynn that day was batting in the 9-hole. So really turning that bottom of the order and giving opportunities back to the top. So overall, when you hit 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position, only leaves 7 on base, I'd say a pretty decent day for the Salt Lake Bees. So how does that, losing 5 of 6, affect them in the standings? Well, not great. They've lost 5 in a row. They've only won 4 of their last 10. They now slip 10.5 games below first place Las Vegas Aviators, with the Bees having a 15-23 record. So a lot of work to be done right now for the Bees as they're that far down in the standings, but they have a little opportunity for redemption as they get set to take on the San Francisco Giants affiliate, the Sacramento River Cats, this week, who are just above them in 3rd place in the Pacific Coast League West standings. They are 18-21, 8 games back of the Las Vegas Aviators, and the Bees will be hitting the road to Sacramento, which we all know is the home ballpark of the Oakland A's this season, as they are now out of the Oakland Coliseum and playing at a glorified hitter's ballpark in Sacramento, California. So a tough week again for the Bees as they look to get back on the winning side of things, currently riding a 5-game losing streak, and somehow, some way, got to ride the ship in the right direction. There was a move, 2 moves to be exact, going to AAA this past week for the Halos. They re-signed on a minor league deal, former friend Hunter Strickland. He is reported to AAA Salt Lake. He pitched in just 2 games this week, suffered the loss in one of them, giving up a run in 2 innings. And then they also signed to a minor league deal Buck Farmer, a right-hander who went just 1 inning, gave up no runs and 1 hit with 1 strikeout this week. So a couple of newcomers to the Angels AAA affiliate and Angels organization, even though Hunter Strickland, who's been a friend before here with the Halos over the last couple of seasons, he comes back, I believe this is his 3rd tour of duty with the Angels as of now. So right there, Salt Lake Bees looking to get the winning ways, kind of like our big ball club in the Angels, struggling in a lot of facets right now, but looking to get on the right side of the page here with some wins against the Sacramento River Cats. Flipping it on down now to the south side in Alabama. It's your favorite, the Rocket City Trash Pandas, one of the favorite minor league mascots in minor league baseball. They always got to love those fun-loving names. And this past week for the Rocket City Trash Pandas, a tough week once again. They lose 5 of 6 to the Tampa Bay Rays affiliate in the Montgomery Biscuits. And not great. No. They've really had a strugglesome start to their season. And for the first couple of seasons for the Rocket City Trash Pandas, they have been accustomed to winning a lot of ball games, being involved in the postseason action at this in the Southern League, and right now just not getting things to go their way. They only picked up a win on the back end of a doubleheader on Sunday, on Mother's Day Sunday. P.S. Happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there listening to the podcast, or those that listen, share the sentiments with your mother. A 7-5 win on Sunday after losing 3-2, 2-5, getting shut out 7-0, 4-1, and 9-4. So extremely tough losses in that entire week at home at Toyota Field. And looking over at the numbers, starters had a really rough week. And the one that I can really point out that maybe had a little bit of a bright spot would be a top 30 prospect, and it is number 17 in Walbert Urania. Urania in that week against Montgomery did suffer the loss, but he went 5 innings, gave up 2 runs on only one hit batsman, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. Now the walks, not my favorite, but he limited the Montgomery Biscuits to only 1 hit through 5 innings. So a whip of just 1. Very good numbers overall. Is if you, again, compare it to the rest of the starters that week, Ferris, Harding, Hurtado, Jones, not really good in that situation for the Rocket City Trash Pandas. We do have an update on another starter and the Angels, top 3 prospect, number 3, George Clausen. Clausen in Sunday Mother's Day game day baseball took a line drive right back on the mound to the facial area. He was down. He had to be helped off the field. He kind of got off the field semi under his own volition, but he was still helped off the field. He was taken to a local medical facility, local hospital in the Alabama area. Not too much update right now, but he was alert. He was responding to testing. So I would expect him to be out probably for a start or 2, maybe even more, to kind of get things checked out and make sure everything is A-okay for the right-hander in George Clausen. Something you never want to see, no matter who the pitcher is, no matter who the player is, if it's for the Angels farm system or the opposition. So prayers up to George Clausen, who in that start only lasted 3 1/3 innings, and he took enough of a unfortunate beating. I'm not going to mention the numbers. Unfortunately, it was not a great day for Clausen. So pitching looks to improve this week for the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And looking at the offensive numbers, again, when you're losing 5 of 6, the numbers are probably not going to be there in more ways than one. But there was some valiant efforts that I will definitely give a shout out to. And this is a guy we talked about a lot in the spring training finale, one of the earlier episodes of this program. And we're finally getting a chance to talk about him now because it's been a little bit of a rough season for the 19-year-old outfielder in Nelson Rada. This season, batting .279. Again, the numbers don't, not horrible. 5 doubles, 8 RBIs, 20 walks, and 10 stolen bases. Very nice. This past week had the best batting average on the squad, .421, with a .542 on base percentage and an OPS of .963. So putting the ball in play and doing the right things. 3 RBIs, 5 walks, 4 stolen bases, 8 hits, and 19 at-bats with 3 runs scored. So definitely doing the right things defensively out in the outfield as well. But carrying a .421 average at the top of the order, something to look forward to for the Angels as he continues to get stronger and older. Again, just 19 years old, still plenty of time. I would expect, honestly, that Rada would probably be at the Rocket City level all season long. 19 years old, super young, don't want to rush him. I could see him being a 2-year starter at Rocket City last year and this year, and then maybe getting the promotion to AAA next year to kind of lead that Salt Lake Bees roster. When you garner more experience, this is going to be the time where Nelson Rada wants to hone in on the craft so he can slap the crap out of the baseball at the AAA level and utilize that speed and see what you have against prototypical future MLB players. Also, Seth Brown over at first base, 4 RBIs, batted .348 this week. Very good numbers. Anybody after that, and this includes Christian Moore, who has come up struggling this year, only batted .211 with 2 RBIs. And this season now for Christian Moore, after jumping off the page out of the draft from Tennessee, last year, .347 batting average in total between Inland Empire and Rocket City. But this year, just batting .216, 1 home run, 13 RBIs, does have 20 walks, 3 doubles, and 2 triples. So it's been hitting few and far between right now if you're Christian Moore. So right now, looking to settle his game out a little bit as a 22-year-old college prospect who, was selected 8th overall for the Halos in the 2024 draft and needing to kind of find that, don't want to call it a sophomore slump, but that second year in pro ball, you're going to need to find a way. Yes, find a way to get the job done and have essentially opposing pitchers, even if it's from different organizations that you might not see as often moving forward when you get up to different levels. Because as we talked about, at AAA, the Pacific Coast League is a lot of AL West and NL West teams. Now at the AA level, you're seeing a lot of East Coast teams. You're seeing Tampa Bay's affiliates, the Marlins affiliates, the White Sox, and Cincinnati Reds, teams that you might not see moving forward until you get to the pro MLB level. So pick your spots, find some consistency, and I think that's the best advice right now I could give to the Angels in their number one prospect, Christian Moore, is find consistency. Yes, you're taking your lumps earlier in the season in April and May, but you've got to find a way to iron them out now. We're in that second month of minor league ball, and especially by the time we get to the end of May and into June, you got to start figuring out, because that back half of the season, you have the MLB draft coming up, the trade deadline. And I'm not saying Christian Moore is going to get traded or get bumped in any way, but still, spots are going to be taken. People get released. You want to make those impressions now. And this isn't just a message to Christian Moore. This would be a message to all Angels farmhands from top to bottom, because you're only sometimes as good as your final game. And right now, got to find a way to prove the consistency, especially when you are available on an everyday basis. But that's my 2 cents on some top prospects with Christian Moore, Nelson Rada, and a little bit earlier, Wolbert Urania in mind. So Rocket City, not a very good week, unfortunately. They will have to look to bounce back as they continue a little bit of a road trek. They're going to play the Pensacola Blue Wahoos this week. So Rocket City on the road, going from Alabama, crossing that line over into the Florida landscape. And looking at the standings right now, with that rough week, losing 5 of 6 and losing 6 of their last 10, Rocket City find themselves in the bottom of the Southern League North Division, 6 games back. And what's tough about that is the 3 teams above them, Birmingham in 3rd, Chattanooga in 2nd, and Knoxville in 1st. All 3 of those teams are separated by 1 game. Chattanooga a half game back, and Birmingham 1 game back. So there's really a huge gap right now between 3rd and the cellar spot where Rocket City is occupying at this moment. So needing to put together some wins back to back to back and make things work here if you're the Trash Pandas. So kind of battle back, get to where you need to go, get back to the basics, and find consistency. And I think that's going to be the key here in these 2 teams, the Salt Lake Bees at the AAA level and the Rocket City Trash Pandas at the AA level. Find consistency on all elements, offensive, pitching, and defense, and string together some wins after some tough weeks where both squads lose 5 of 6, and looking to get back into the win column and start a little bit of some mini winning streaks. But with that, we've kind of hit the halfway point here on this week's Angels Minor League Report with yours truly, Dominick Lorenz. So glad that you've taken the time out of your busy Tuesday or whenever you get to listen or watch this podcast episode. I appreciate it. The entire Halos in the Infield network appreciates it. So many great shows on the network. Todd, Fernando, Halo Joe, Rob, Vin, everybody does, and James, the Around the League show is absolutely fantastic. Watch them all. Enjoy them all. Absorb them all because, yes, even though the Angels aren't doing so well, this is the content that you're going to want to surround yourself from top to bottom during the season and even the off season as well. So cheers to all the guys that represent Halos in the Infield. Again, for the fans, by the fans, this is what we're about, talking as much Angels baseball as we possibly can. But for right now, speaking of Angels baseball and speaking of the Halos in the Infield network, we wouldn't be here with a lot of special people. You know what time it is here on the show. Let's show some love to our totally awesome sponsors here this season.
Brought to you by 714 Tickets in Anaheim, your trusted source for Angels tickets at unbeatable prices with no hidden fees. Whether it's home or away, they've got your seat covered. Visit them at 2424 East Catella Avenue, Anaheim, or online at 714tickets.com. Mention HITI and get 10% off your purchase. And Brewheim, Anaheim's premier craft brewery, pouring fresh, locally brewed beers in a welcoming atmosphere for Angels fans and beer lovers alike. Stop by their tap room at 1931 East Wright Circle, Anaheim, or check them out at brewheim.com. Mention HITI and get 10% off your tab. The OC Dugout, your one-stop shop for officially licensed Angels memorabilia, custom jersey framing, and exclusive autograph signings with your favorite players. Visit them at 1928 East Center Street, Anaheim, or online at theocdugout.com. Support the businesses that support Halos in the Infield.
Absolutely. Support the businesses that support us here at Halos in the Infield Network. Of course, Brewheim has been an awesome sponsor this year. We've had some tailgates already this year. Todd and I currently are working on to do some live stream events, calling the Angels games while at Brewheim, having a great time, trying the selection of beers, playing some cornhole, broadcasting the game. It's going to be a fun season. Even if the product on the field is not great, we're going to find a way to make it fun together. And if we have to commiserate together, well, we'll commiserate together. But I know before we continue things on the show with High A Tri-City Dust Devils and Single A Inland Empire 66ers, as always, nicknamed El Presidente, Mr. Todd has a little message for you.
Hey Todd, what are you looking at?
Looking at the Underdog app sponsored by Halos in the Infield. Actually, you can punch in HITI and get the promo code 20% earnings on your first bet via Underdog, the app. And also, they match 50% up to $1,000 winnings if you place bets. You could put them on players. You could put it on teams. It's a nightly thing. It's so easy to play, but also gamble responsibly. All because of Halos in the Infield and Underdog, the app.
Gamble responsibly. You heard the man, Todd, telling you all about Underdog Sportsbook. Check them out for all your betting needs. This is a great time to be a sports fan. You got baseball. You got the NBA playoffs. You got the NHL playoffs going on as well. Let's see. What else? You got College World Series is coming up. I know, college sports, you can't really bet, but, people do it on the side. You never know what happens, even if it's for fun. You got football in the fall coming up. A lot of great things happening in the sports hemisphere here this time of year. That sports equinox is coming up. So enjoy it, make some bets, make some cash. And if you want to donate a little bit to Halos in the Infield, because we go out to some great causes as well, let us know. We will make that happen for you. But let's continue here on to the show on the Angels Minor League Report with yours truly, Dominick Lorenz. So glad to be here with you guys for another week. Tri-City Dust Devils. They hit the road to take on the Everett Aqua Sox, the Seattle Mariners affiliate. And in a 6-game series, 1-2, lost 3. The final game on Mother's Day had to be delayed and paused in the 4th inning due to a rainout. So rain delay, both teams were tied 5-5 in the 4th inning. They will make up and finish the game on June the 10th. So they're going to have to wait an extra month plus to kind of finish that game out. But at least through 5+ games, or at least 5 games, because the stats from the 6th game that was delayed do not count yet. You don't get to count whatever's happened so far. So through the 5 games this week, Anthony Skoll, the outfielder who played with Inland Empire last year, speedster, has a little pop to his bat. Definitely used that pop to his advantage this week. Picked up a pair of solo home runs. Had a 9-hit, 22 at-bat performance, good for a 409 average with a double as well and a pair of walks. So getting on base and proving what he can do. Aurel Vera, the shortstop, 4 games, batted .500, a pair of home runs, 4 RBIs, ball flying out of the park at the Everett Aqua Sox this past week, because you had also had home runs from De Jesus, Nicholson, Placencia, and Redfield. So just like that, you had 6 different guys homer in the series, with 2 of those guys having multi-home run series. And if you combine all those RBIs, look at these performances. Skoll with 2, Vera with 2, De Jesus with a 4 RBI performance in 5 games. Nicholson had the solo blast, Placencia 3 RBIs in 5 games, and Redfield had the home run in only 3 games played this week. So the power numbers really came to fruition for the Tri-City Dust Devils this week. Saw a lot of good numbers. The only offensive numbers that I'm like, about, strikeout numbers. Just from those top couple guys that we talked about, Skoll, Vera, De Jesus, Nicholson, Placencia, and Redfield, they combined for a grand total of 28 strikeouts. Not great. Want to limit that a little bit, but still, I would say the power numbers, it's kind of feast or famine in that sense, but the power numbers definitely on display this past week for the Tri-City Dust Devils. Looking over in that series, when you look overall, we talk pitching a lot on this program. And looking at the pitching, it's not just about the starters. You got to look at the bullpen. And honestly, the bullpen really shined for me this week in terms of the Tri-City Dust Devils. You had great arms. We talked about Block in the past. The first one I want to focus on is Logan Britt. 1-0 record, just 1 appearance in this series, but he went 4 innings out of the bullpen, 4 hits, no runs, 4 strikeout performance. Very good numbers from Logan Britt. And looking at Britt's numbers overall this season, 2-0 with a 5.89 ERA, 18 1/3 innings pitched, and 18 strikeouts. So definitely great numbers overall for the righty. You had Block, who went 2 for 2 in save opportunities. Garcia went 1 1/3 this week. So very good numbers from this back end of the Tri-City Dust Devils bullpen. If we're looking at starters, Keith O'Kee, talked about him in the past. 4 1/3 innings, gave up 1 run on 4 hits, got the no decision in this contest against the Everett Aqua Sox. But overall, pitching very, very well once again this year, because if we look at the year-to-date numbers and we look at Keith O'Kee's numbers so far, 5 starts, 0-2, a 5.73 ERA, yet in 22 innings has 31 strikeouts and only a 1.68 whip. So the numbers are a little bit deceptive for the right-hander, but still positive opportunities moving forward for this young right-hander in this rotation. Also, if we do look at the overall numbers this year and how these past week's numbers affect everything else that's happened so far, you're going to have to look at the back-end closer of this Tri-City Dust Devil squad in A.J. Block. A.J. Block, 11 games, 8 saves in 9 opportunities, a 1.10 ERA. He's only given up 2 earned runs in 16 1/3 innings pitched, 3 walks, 24 strikeouts. And if he continues to pitch like this, he may be in contention for a Tri-City Dust Devils Player of the Month for the month of May. So you never know what can happen. Just putting it out there. If we're, kind of looking forward future a little bit, let's look at his numbers in the month of May for AJ Block. 3 appearances, 3 for 3 in save opportunities, no runs, 4 hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts. I think he's a leading contender right now for a pitcher of the month award if it's either for Tri-City or in a wild card kind of berth in that situation. So AJ Block, very good numbers so far here for the Dust Devils. But looking over at the Dust Devils again, they will indeed have to make up that final game at the in June against the Everett Aqua Sox. But this week they return home to take on the Diamondbacks affiliate in the Hillsboro Hops. And that series begins on May the 13th. 6-game series, all night games with the day game on Sunday the 18th. Looking over at the standings with 1 game not completed, Tri-City still sitting in that 3rd position in the Northwest League Northwest portion, because again, 8-team league, everybody in the same division. There ain't no East, West, South, North division. It's one Northwest division. That is it, the Northwest League. Hillsboro, the team that they're chasing, is who they're playing this week. Hillsboro is 20-13, while Tri-City is 16-16, 3.5 games back of the team they will be playing this week. So Tri-City has a lot to look forward to. They know there is a big game big games this week. Right now on a 2-game losing streak, have lost 6 of their last 10, and now they're going to have to figure out a way against a team that they are chasing to get the job done. Plenty of opportunity. We are only in the month of May. The first half ends typically around the end of June time, even though all minor league baseball takes those 4 days off during the MLB All-Star break. That is not the halfway point anymore. It is the end of June, roughly around that 70 game mark, 68 game mark, somewhere in that realm. You'll kind of look and they'll split the half down the middle. You win the first half, automatic berth into the postseason. If not, you got to battle for that second half championship or a wild card berth, whoever has the next best record after the 2 teams. So you never know what can happen. You got to roll through the changes. And as we talk about rolling, let's roll on back here to Southern California, the California League, single A affiliate of the Angels in the Inland Empire 66ers. They've had a little bit of a rough patch so far this past season to start the year. However, at home against the Stockton Ports, the Oakland A's affiliate. And finally, we have someone having an above 500 series. The 66ers win 4 of 6 against the Stockton Ports with a 4-2, 8-5, 7-2, and 8-5 victory. Very good week for the Inland Empire 66ers. Good pitching, good hitting. And looking over at the hitting numbers here, you got a little schmample size from everybody. Rowdy Rodriguez, our April Player of the Month for the Inland Empire 66ers, batted .273 with a home run and 9 RBIs, crushed a home run into left center field for the 66ers, had 6 hits on the week. The catcher, Dario Laverde, .278 average with a pair of RBIs. Johan Macias batted .300 with 6 RBIs. Caleb Bartolero, .320 average with a home run and 3 RBIs. Kevin Castillo, .368 with 3 RBIs. And Summerhill, .429 with 3 RBIs. So a lot of different players checking in with the RBI train this past week for the Inland Empire 66ers. But we talked about it already. Rowdy Rodriguez, I think he is a surefire, great overall prospect here for the Halos in their minor league farm system. Batting .288 with a pair of home runs and 31 runs batted in this year. .910 OPS. I think it's just when you're a table sitter in that 3-4 slot in the batting order in a very hitter-friendly ballpark, in a hitter-friendly league, this is where Rowdy Rodriguez is going to find success this year for the Inland Empire 66ers. And I'm really, really hoping that he stays there all season long to see what we really have out of him for a full season of work. That's the goal at the end of the day. I think really what you kind of have to do for the Halos in their farm system is just be consistent and be consistent. I know that's going to sound like a broken record, and we talked about it in the first half of the show with the Bees and the Trash Pandas. I think that's what you got to find in this early on portion of the season. Get your footing, get your rhythm, get your timing, and be consistent. Show what you have, and when you are consistent, if it's for a week, 2, whatever the case may be, this is where you're going to get noticed and promoted and have the opportunity to find success moving forward into the season. So overall, good numbers for the Inland Empire 66ers offensively this week. But of course, when you win 4 out of 6, you must have had great pitching. I'm going to say so. Coming out of the bullpen, the man, the myth, the legend, Bridger Holmes. 4 appearances out of the pen, 3 for 3 in save opportunities, 3 2/3 innings of shutout baseball with only 3 hits allowed and 6 strikeouts. When you're going 100% out of the bullpen in save situations, just like AJ Block at Tri-City, Holmes doing the same thing here for the Inland Empire 66ers. He also went out of the bullpen for Inland Empire. And quick note here before I move on here momentarily. On Bridger Holmes, 0-1, a 4.67 ERA out of Oregon State University in 17 1/3 innings pitched this year. Numbers look a little pedestrian. However, a good week can really turn your season around, especially nowadays when you're playing the same opponent for 6 straight games. You can kind of get back on the right footing with a couple good performances strung together in that sense. On the bump, in a starter's capacity, you had a lot of great options. But to me, if I had to pick one looking at the numbers to the right of my screen right now, I'm going to have to give it to, some of the numbers look good even though they go in wins and losses. You know what? I don't care. Even though it was in a loss, give me the right-handed arm of Chris Clark. Chris Clark, 6 1/3 innings pitched, 3 runs, 4 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. Opponents are only batting 190 against him. And overall this season, I think the Harvard man, yes, the Ivy Leaguer, who has a 3.57 ERA in 7 appearances this year, all in a starter's capacity, 35 strikeouts in 35 1/3 innings out of Virginia. I think a 5th-round pick from 2023 is starting to trend in the right direction. 23 years old, trying to get that footing. And I think when you have appearances like this where you can throw a quality start, 3 runs in 6 1/3 innings, that's going to get recognized. And some nights, you're not going to get the offensive support. But for Clark to go deep into a ball game and only give up 3 runs, I like that performance no matter what. A couple other pitchers, Tuxedo had 9 1/3 innings pitched this week. Vargas had 5 1/3. So a lot of chunk innings eaten up by the Inland Empire 66ers this week. So when you win again, 4 out of 6 against the squad, that's going to be a good week when you're looking at pitching and hitting numbers. Overall, it's going to be a tough week for Inland Empire as they look at the team above them at the top of the standings as they hit the road to play the Angels' future minor league affiliate starting next year in the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. This year, their final year as a Los Angeles Dodgers farmhand. And these 2 squads will begin a 6-game series at Lone Mark Field in Rancho Cucamonga. 6 games going on. It's Angels, it's Dodgers. I have a feeling, spoiler alert, I might have to pop in to one of those games. I know both broadcasters for the Quakes and the 66ers extremely well, especially being a broadcaster myself. I've known them since 2017, so 8 going on 9 years. Phenomenal gentleman, Mike Linskog, the voice of the Quakes. Give him a listen. I know it's the Dodgers, but he is an awesome listen. And Steve Went for the Inland Empire 66ers. You should be listening to him already to follow out these minor league prospects. But 2 amazing broadcasters in the California League that I look up to and have shared a lot of wisdom with me in the broadcasting world. So I'm going to do my due diligence and probably make my way to Rancho Cucamonga this week and get a little schmample size and see what the Quakes and the 66ers have to offer. Looking at the Cal League South standings, with the Quakes at the top, they've had a very, very good start to the season for the Dodgers affiliate. 23-10. Inland Empire at the bottom of the division, 11 games back at 12-21. However, 5-5 in their last 10 games, winners of 4 of their last 6. So hopefully good things to come. And if you look at the standings right now, with the Quakes having such a big lead, if they end up winning the first half, which they probably will, it's a whole new ball game in the second half. The records go back to 0-0 and you figure things out. Lake Elsinore and Visalia are both at 15-8. The overall record, first half and second half combined, can come into effect if the same team that wins the first half wins the second half, because the wild card winner is based on overall record. So no matter what, even though Inland Empire's 3 games back of Lake Elsinore and Visalia for second place, you want to chunk together as many wins as possible to get things going in the right direction. So get wins where you can get them. And if you can find a way to steal some wins against the team that you're chasing over there in first place, be my guest and go for it. That's what I want to see from the Inland Empire 66ers this upcoming week as they take on the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. But with that, fans, that's going to wrap it up for this week's Angels Minor League Report with yours truly, Dominick Lorenz of Catella Chronicles. So glad that you clicked that play button and listened or watched this podcast episode this week. You know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and follow us. YouTube, X, Instagram, whatever site that you follow us on, Facebook, Todd, Fernando, all the whole crew. Follow us. We got everything that you want here from this network. The post-game show, which as I look down at my phone right now while I record this podcast, the Angels come back and beat the second best team in baseball, Taylor Ward grand slam in the 9th inning. I believe that's what it said on the MLB.com alert on my phone. Kenley Jansen picking up the final 3 outs, and the Angels stun the Padres at Petco Park tonight as Taylor Ward hits a grand slam late in the ballgame to win it for the Halos. So yay, Angels getting in the win column here over the last couple of days. But keep it tuned to our Halos as they continue to battle. 17-23 with this win tonight. Again, this will be yesterday when you listen to this podcast episode on Tuesday morning. But the Angels, 17-23. The Bees, Trash Pandas, Dust Devils, 66ers, working their way. What's the theme of the show today? Finding consistency. And that's what everybody from top to bottom in this Angels organization needs to look out for here in 2025. But as always, cheers to our sponsors, 714 Tickets, Bruheim, Underdog Sportsbook, and the OC Dugout. Always lovely to have them along here at the Halos in the Infield Network. By the fans, for the fans, everything involved. That is our slogan. We have been fans since day one, and we want to share that passion with you guys. And by commenting, and subscribing, we want your takes. Filter along throughout all of our shows here on the network, and you will have an absolute A+ of a time here with us. But for this week, Dominick Lorenz of Catella Chronicles, thanks for listening along. Looking forward to seeing you guys back next week for another edition of the Angels Minor League Report here on the Halos in the Infield Network. But until next time, as I always say, be happy, be healthy, go Angels, Bees, Trash Pandas, Dust Devils, 66ers, and enjoy the rest of your week. And we will see you next week on another edition of the Angels Minor League Report. Go Halos.